No, 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 no. Terry, man, where are you, dude? Where's the camera? He's hiding on this
Oh, I'm here.
one. I know you're there, man. Incognito today.
Yep.
You know it's okay if you're not wearing pants. Nobody can tell.
No Pants Friday.
No pants.
Wait, you guys only, that's only supposed to be Friday?
Yeah, well, we didn't say it at the end of the week. We just said it was, the state of the day of the week. Doesn't necessarily mean anyone will stop working. But that's what it is. Oh, as soon as we go live, Ann turns off the camera. Obviously, we're not as self-conscious as the ladies' voice. They all got habits. They all got pictures. Wow. Oh, all right. So what are we doing this fine week?
Grab bag.
Anybody seen any good articles on local? Yeah, I'll just keep pushing it. Much as thank you. Yeah, I actually believe we had some late shows. Let me go look. Da, 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 da. You had somebody watching in there, Doc, did you? So let's see.
Yeah, I just sent a YouTube link.
Anybody catch Joe Hall's post the other day? I was
Yeah.
like, wow, Joe's writing again. I was like, wow, cool.
Yeah.
see. Boy, I don't know what to say. I felt like writing him an email saying, dude, really, this one's as old as time. Good luck with that. For STL, I guess it was the old premise. I guess Steve of SEO is trying to put everything in their own bag as far as social and this and that and next. And
Right.
he was just kind of losing about a search engine land article where someone was once again sticking PR and other things into the SEO bag and treating it as SEO.
And I understand where he's coming from, but from a client perspective, most clients, when they hire an SEO, they expect you to be able to do all of it.
Yeah. Again, that's why I think you and I have long defaulted to saying we're internet marketers more than SEOs. I'm sure I do a lot of SEO, but I also have clients talking to me about content programming. So working with their social media team and reviewing that, or you know what I mean, or even like Ann's talking about earlier, analytics. You get your fingers into pretty much everything. So I'm kind of defaulted like you do and just say, well, I'm an internet marketer. I happen to do some SEO as well.
Yeah, I believe all that.
Well, that's it. Yeah, we wear so many hats. So, but I think it's important to have distinctions, at least to a degree. Like I agree to what Joe's saying that you got to understand when you're doing social media, you're wearing a different hat. You're not an SEO anymore. You're now working in the social media department because your client can't afford to hire two people. So.
And even when you have two people, you still have to constantly audit it and check to make sure things are done right, because the whole tracking is a huge thing, and it's just a lot of work.
Oh yeah, the last social media staffer I worked with had been at it for 6 months out of college. So I was like, okay. So just like you're saying, you end up auditing them and teaching them and helping them and watching them. Regardless if it's a dedicated staffer, it was 6 months is not exactly a lot of real world experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing she was cheap. All right, let's see what's on the list of things that came up this week in the old room. Subdomains and okay, wow. All right, so yeah, SEO theory. Our buddy Michael Martinez was talking about subdomains and directories. Okay. Don't know about the rest of y'all, but my personal opinion in the last year or two is it's not a huge deal. I don't really think Google treats them separately anymore. Steve is laughing. What if you?
I see a dog trying to open a door behind you.
The dog wants out.
Kind of funny.
I kind of agree with Michael in that if it's done right, it doesn't make a big difference.
Right.
I just wish that his post had been more about doing it right rather than a rant about Moz, as usual.
I don't think he does. Does he do much else?
Yeah, that's pretty much every post. I think I'm kind of afraid to even go back and look through his archive, but I'm pretty sure you can find some disparaging remarks about Rand and/or Moz in every post.
Well, do a site
It's old.
search. Do a site search on his blog with the word Moz and see how many instances there are.
It's
And
just,
then do a site search without it to see how many pages there are in total, and you'll have yourself a pretty good number.
come on, Michael, you got a lot of knowledge. Spend your energy in a better, more constructive way.
Yeah, I guess for the uninitiated, I think I don't know, a while back, Google kind of treated subdomains as a separate site, so to speak. A lot, Steve, I guess a lot like, not having a forward slash would used to get it treated as a totally separate page.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And the whole www, non-www. But I think really over the last 3-4 years, they've got a lot better. I don't think that's something I really overly worry about these days.
I haven't
You
seen
gotta
that.
test that. You can't just assume anything, Dave, because,
Oh, yeah, I'm with you.
well, basically, a few years back, like you said, Matt came out and said, we're going to treat it how we want to treat it. It may be treated as a separate domain. It may be just treated as another folder on your website. So you got to figure out how they're treating it. You can't assume it's part of the domain or it's a separate domain.
I'm not sure it's a
SEO, a little bit of checking and research. I know dirty words, but it helps to do it once in a while.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd be moving one to the other for any kind of benefit.
Well, there was a time it was, if you want to keep to really, narrow niche topics, and they're treating each subdomain as a separate domain, that's a good way to, keep the easy management and keep her all under one roof.
Right, but back in the days when it was seemingly definitively a separate domain, you're diluting link equity passenger navigation.
Well, it also, when you say we're going to make up our minds, that removes all the canonical issues, which was the big problem with it, right? Just like WW and all that stuff, I think that's pretty much out the window since Google figured out canonicalization. Like, I don't sweat, not having a redirect for www. Don't even know if I have one, because I know it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I guess, Steve, what advice do you guys give? Like, for me, regional stuff, you know what I mean? Like, if you've got a corporation that has multiple language versions of your site and stuff, I tend to think more in subdomains. If it's a blog, I tend to think directory.
Agree. Yeah, there's places where subdomains make more sense. If you're dealing with different thematic content sometimes, if you're dealing with different geo areas sometimes, but I think Michael's very correct. If you do it right, it doesn't really make a difference. And I don't worry about it a whole lot. The only time that I've had an issue with it in the last couple of years is when a client was trying to do both for geo. He was actually separating in subdomains for different regions and in folders for different regions, and it just created a royal mess that we ended up redoing the site.
This is all just a lot of holdover from the old days when websites were getting away with making millions of subdomains and shooting to the top of the rankings for all kinds of random terms because of all the quote external links that were on the pages.
And I think too, a lot of people had the idea, some time back that they could get away from if they were dealing with e-com where they had duplicate content issues on site. Right. That it was okay if they had duplicate content between subdomains. Well, I'm sorry, folks, it ain't okay.
Not anymore.
Well, not since Panda. You don't want duplicate content anywhere if you can get away with it.
Yep. But a lot of people were pushing that as a solution. If you're going to have if you're going to have duplicate content on different subdomains, it won't hurt you, and that's bullshit.
Yeah. Again, so.
I don't know that it could hurt you.
Well, you also run the link dilution. You know what I mean? Meaning that whenever we hear the old duplicate content penalty garbage, that it's, you know, as far as duplicate content penalty garbage, it's not as much a penalty as you're putting yourself at risk of Google presenting or indexing or ranking the wrong pages if you've got that, you know, especially tag pages and crap like that. Because a tag page inherently is going to have more internal link juice passed to it equity-wise if they're following links and so on and so on. So you can end up having tag pages ranking when you don't want another page.
Yeah.
Good day, Deb. You're looking great.
Hi there. Hi guys. How do I have my picture show?
Is your camera disabled up above?
Yeah, I didn't do my hair today.
Oh, Google.
I didn't do mine either.
Neither did Terry.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why.
apparently Gary didn't either.
I don't know how
Yeah,
to.
Deborah, just at the top of the Hangout box, there's icons. Disable the video thing.
Disable the
It's
video.
right next to the mic. It's right next to the microphone.
There we got your avatar
There you
now.
go.
Yay! Thank you. So last night it was -2 here.
Good Lord. That's just wrong.
It's minus 35. It's minus 35 Celsius here, and there's like warnings all over our weather station networks and stuff saying, you know, just don't go out.
Wow.
I won't tell you
Yeah,
the
it's
temperature in
true.
San Diego.
Oh yeah, make us sick. Make us sick.
Oh, wasn't it beautiful yesterday here? Wow. Up in the
It was-
high 70s.
Yeah, it was 80 the day before, and right now, let's see, what is the weather right at this moment? And it's 10:13 a.m. I need to
Wow.
pull up
77
Weather
here.
Underground.
Nice. Nice.
Sunny, windy. We're having another one of those stupid windstorms. It's 74 right now. Sunny, not a cloud on the horizon.
I remember
So
those days.
Yeah, take a picture. It can change at the drop of a hat.
That was Minnesota.
You know what? We have more girls on today than boys. Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were 50-50. Let's
Oh, wait a
see.
minute.
We've got 4 of us and 4 of them.
Oh, I don't see.
Terry's a guy.
Terry's just an avatar, so.
I didn't see Terry. Sorry, Terry.
The story is like
My life.
invisible to women.
Well, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I only see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I only see 7 pictures on the bottom.
Okay, well, hold on. Kristen's watching. She's just not in here. So if we get Kristen to come in here, we'll officially have more gals and guys.
Oh, Kristen here?
Yeah, well, look at the Q&A. She said, "Oh my goodness, this is a great panel. The word must be getting out. How do you do it?" Yeah, Kristen's out there somewhere. So
Well,
she joins. And
Why isn't she in here?
I don't know. She'll probably drop in. I just put the link up on the actual event.
Now she
There
is.
you go.
There you go. Now we have officially outnumbered them.
There you go, Deb. It's official, honey.
No, we're outnumbered.
You've done it. There you go.
And on Friday the 13th, is there a meeting in that?
Ooh, ooh.
Oh, it is Friday the 13th. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
it
hadn't
is.
realized that. Thanks for pointing that out. Damn it.
Now I'm going to start watching over it.
I lived with a black cat for 18 years, so I gave up on superstitions.
Hello, Kristen. How are we today?
I'm good. I'm just trying to get rid of this stupid little lower third thing. Don't need it. Not that one.
You have a crown on.
Do I really?
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
Is it just this?
it looks like you're wearing a tiara.
yeah, that pretty colorful thing in your hair.
Like a, yeah, it looks like a
Oh,
tiara.
okay. Not like a Miara, though, right?
You have to give the wave.
She looks like a princess, yes.
I am a princess.
You are
Yeah,
a
so-
princess. Wow.
What a coincidence. So is Steve.
Oh,
You had to go there.
That was good.
Well, I'll take flack over that one.
I think we're good.
NSF links coming by.
you will get grief about that, Doc, but you know, Steve, he'll slowly, over the course of a week, bust your balls.
Yeah, he will never
Slowly
forget.
operate.
Like an elephant, he never forgets.
One of
After
these days,
calling
I'll
him an
click-
elephant,
I'll click
it's
that
just gonna
wrong.
get worse.
Since I now have my office temporarily located in the dining room, sometimes I've got wife, daughter, and/or company seated behind me, and I've got to be even more careful than usual about opening links that he sends.
So what are we going to talk about today?
Oh, I don't know. You guys got something? Let me know. If not, I have a bunch of topics and things we can play with. We were just talking about subdomains and directories. I think we pretty much killed that.
I loved the idea of talking about the keyword is dead thing.
No.
Oh, okay. No? Sure,
No.
there's no out there? Okay, I guess why not? You know, Bill, you're out there. You'd be happy to join in. I guess the premise of that, Ann, was a conversation, what, a couple of weeks ago we had in the chat room? Something like that.
Yeah.
And Ann was talking about keyword research, and I think some of us were chiming in, and, you know, everyone can throw in their own perspectives, but for me, again, I think the last few years, at least, Terry, 3, 4, maybe more, I don't know, Terry, it's been a while, but we stopped thinking in terms of actual keywords, meaning like an exact match kind of approach that was really the mainstay of SEO for so long. I started thinking more in semantic baskets about concepts and supporting terms and things of that nature, as opposed to actual just keywords themselves. And I don't find myself really targeting things like we used to. And when, you know, even when Hummingbird came out, that gives you sort of a glimpse into the future of search as far as conversational search. That you know, Google's looking at, you know, I hate using that semantic word because then some idiot doc is going to start bringing up LSI again. But I don't like to think, you know, Google starts to think more in, where to learn or where to, you know, like rent and let and are two synonymous words for, you know, an apartment, let's say. So it was actually funny. I think at the time, man, someone posted a query about learning how to salsa dance or something like that. And if you looked at that query space, sure enough, Google was doing it. It was, you know, learn and lessons and how to, you know, how to was synonymous with how to, you know, learning how, you know, and so on and so on. So I think that, you know, you see this kind of thing through the evolution over the last few years that I personally am not thinking as much of specifically targeting a term, meaning, you know, putting a term in the links and having the term in the title and having the term in the head and the H1 and everywhere else that you want this exact match term, as opposed to building around a concept and building around phrases and things that support it.
Well, and I think really what I've been working on is because I have to execute projects and I have to hand things off to somebody to implement, it's important to me that there's some sort of a scientific variable that says, you know, this is a good word, these are good supportive words, and this is the data that shows that. So whether that's a certain word is indexed a certain amount of time, or a certain modifier is indexed a certain amount of time, or something like that, I'm trying to make it so that I called them keyword worksheets. I'm fine modifying them, but my real challenge right now is how do I try and put numbers around these new modifiers, LSI, certain types of things to make a page like the best possible content ever.
You know, the funny thing is, you know, even Moz tried to build an LDA tool once upon a time, a few years back. It was, an LDA is just another version of semantic analysis for, you know, computer geeks in the world. So regardless, you know, just call it semantic analysis. Don't worry about what flavor it is. But I always use that Jaguar example because I think it really highlights what one has to try and think about. You've got a big cat and, you know, animal. And not to put, you know, feathers into Doc's cap, but I think, you know, you want to understand this stuff. A good copywriter is the way you want to go, because what's naturally written is going to do better than something that you're trying to write or forcing yourself. You know, this is where keyword stuffing came from. People trying to force in this word X number of times, and this is scientifically how you rank in Google, as opposed to looking at the concepts that surround something you're doing, the concepts that surround that term. If it's, we need to let Google know that this is Jaguar, the animal, then, you know, hunting habits and prey and, you know, long claws and words that are going to tell Google that this is not about a football team or a car.
Right.
And so, you know, supplying your writers with lists of semantic relevance is probably a better idea.
Think about
than specific.
workflow. Think about workflow. So, I mean, literally, I have to find some sort of, here are the guidelines. It's not about not letting the copywriter do what they want, because trust me, I do let them. But here's the thing: the guy does all these analogies. You know, we're talking about cars, but somehow he introduces God into it. You know, he literally, I mean, he puts little Easter eggs in his content, and he's great with cars. But the bottom line is I need to keep him targeted and focused to actually add in, okay, when you're driving into the page that's about a part, you know. So I'm trying to be able to build these guidelines so that it's executed well. It's not that I want to, I don't know, it's not that I want to prevent the copywriter from writing.
Right,
great
but again,
content.
you probably, I'll let Doc speak to this in a second, but to me, I want to supply the copywriter with a variance of concepts that I'd like to see included in this piece. You know what I mean? The core piece is about this, but I would also like you to try and touch on this, and that, because they're related concepts that I'd like to see in this piece. Like, Doc, how would you take what she's saying and direct your copywriting team to ensure that they're staying on focus? Okay, maybe Doc's not going to tell us.
All right.
Doc's
Let me take this from the other side. When Google doesn't associate words properly, going back to the jewelry industry because it's one I know really well, when you do a search for something that's custom jewelry, that means something completely different to the customer and the jeweler than personalized jewelry. Yet Google has associated personalized with custom, and those are two wildly different things. So all of these major chain stores that scratch your initials on things, that's called personalization. All of those guys have taken the top rankings for what used to be a custom handcrafted, hand-manufactured piece of art. And it's completely, I mean, that one particular search of custom jewelry has just been decimated for years because of the way Google, one, associates words, the way brands or authorities, heavy sites like Zales and K Jewelers and those just dominate those types of things when they don't do any of that type of work.
Yeah, but that's
and there's nothing we can do about it.
That's an edge case, Steve. In most cases, custom and personalized mean the same thing. It means different in jewelry.
This is the point I'm trying to make, Barry. The edge cases have to be taken into account.
Well,
because you can't just say, well, we're 95% good. Good enough, because you've still got that.
In terms like made to order come into play at that point, or you know what I mean? What's the more wouldn't supporting phrases like made to order?
Yeah. I would find other phrases. That's what I would.
Well, see, but that's just it. Customers don't search other phrases.
Right.
I could rank #1 for 1 million phrases, but if the customer's not searching for that phrase, who cares? They're searching for something very specific. And the fact that I appreciate that Google's working hard, they just haven't gone deep enough into the relationship between words and industries to understand that what it means in this industry is not what it means in something, a different industry. And so you can't just make a blanket statement of these words all mean the same thing because they're all in a thesaurus next to each other.
Right, almost like the sentiment analysis stuff. Whereas something being bad could actually mean it's good. Well, that's a really badass piece of jewelry. Doesn't mean it's a bad piece of jewelry. So it's almost like that semantic analysis of words becomes an issue.
Well,
and it's like the relationship game we used to play, where what terms are related to each other and how.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they all can be related to each other in the right context.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's where we get into sentiment analysis is where people.
Yeah, no search engine does that. Period. Or not very well.
Not yet.
Doc,
as the bottom line is, all Google has to be is better than everyone else. Mm-hmm. That's all that they need to be. So the fact that they don't do it perfect, I think that's our job as SEOs, is to figure out where they're not perfect, and figure out how to
Make it
do the
easier.
best we can in that circumstance. Like, here, get this for, I know 2 instances, right, where movies literally take over a SERP, right, because of
Hot tub
the
time
authority
machine.
that the
Hot tub time
database.
machine in the hot tub space, right there. You
Yeah,
got
well,
one
they
there.
just, hey, good luck to Justin. They just made a sequel to that movie. So, it all starts again for the poor fuck. I mean, what do you do?
Well,
Same
again,
with,
that's where you start looking at informational transactional modifiers, and you try to avoid those, hazy query spaces. Sure, his boss wants to rank for hot tubs, but is that realistic when Google's showing that action of ranked movies above them?
well, how
Whereas
about
if
our
you-
favorite,
if you
Dave?
talk about how to fix a hot tub, how to clean a hot tub, where to buy a hot tub, and things of that nature,
Well,
gotta
you
start
just
looking
look for
at
other modifiers. That's
Yeah,
like our
sure.
favorite, where a used car place, a used car site wants to rank for Ford Taurus. Well, I'm pretty sure that Ford Taurus site is going to be pretty prevalent in the results. To think you're going to get a used car one in there, if you're above the fold, you've done pretty good by your client.
Yeah, we remember that one well.
Oh,
Or
fuck, that was
about
No.
so yeah, there was those guys, and then there was Volkswagen. Remember, they wanted the SUV, the term SUV. Yeah,
But that was probably was not that hard a space, really, when we looked at it. And it was all, it was not one company. It was a bunch of them, and they were all using themed sites. Remember that? None of the sites had more than a couple hundred links to it, and they were ranking.
All about authority, baby. All about authority, that was. Yeah.
And they were even themed sites that were just linked to by the mothership, Well, that probably a couple hundred dealership sites.
Since I was breaking up there, Doc, back to Ann's question, which was essentially, what kind of advice do you give as far as keeping writers and copywriters and people on point, and not having them, wander too much, but still letting them write fluidly and naturally so that they sound good?
Well, I don't have time to read all that. That's why I'm having a problem, is because we publish a lot of content for the product details page, product descriptions, how-to guides. We create a lot of content. I, as the manager, do not have all the time to read everything. So that's where.
Well, I would say, Ann, if you're faced with having to read and edit and send back for markup for revision, then you've got the wrong copywriter. Somebody should come on board and learn what they need to be doing, and then get progressively better at it until pretty much it's a rubber stamp for you. Oh, good, I got Joe's post in, I can set this up. You should be building that level of confidence that they're going to hit the mark. If it's been going on and you're not, you need to find a new copywriter.
I don't think it really matters. Like, what's in the body of a page now? If you've got if a writer writes about the topic, it's covered. That's the way it is. Then you optimize the page in the infrastructure of the site and in the headings and, few of the other spots in the body that, naturally happens when you put keywords, for instance, in a set of bullet points. It's all freaking, it's not changed. That part of it is not really changed.
Then why are you paying somebody, though, Terry? Why pay somebody if they're just going to send you a pot full of words and you're going to have to rework it? Then
you're not going to have to rework it, or you need a new fucking copywriter.
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah, well, but I wouldn't worry about it if it's not ranking. It's not because of what the copywriter wrote.
I'm not talking about ranking. I'm just talking about it's not saying what they want it to say. She's saying that she's getting copy from her copywriter that is not talking about not staying on point. It's not talking about what they want to be talking about. That is, to me, the wrong copywriter. If it's been going on, you need to keep shopping.
Not necessarily could be writing to the.
It's not difficult to do though, Doc.
It's about guidelines.
It's not difficult too though that you need. Yeah, and I agree. Editorial guidelines are probably important. You know, that's something everyone should have. But Doc, I think it can be difficult because, as you know, you want a copywriter who's got experience, understands that market and segments, and I mean, I'm not a fan of hiring a copywriter that's done X, Y. I'd rather have someone who writes about automotive all the time and grab them. But to try and retrain that brain a bit with your SEO world, I think isn't that a challenge? So doesn't it become inhibitive or problematic trying to find someone that has both those mindsets?
Well, there's certainly an acclimation period, for to find the voice and the tone and get to learn the subject matter. Obviously, there's an acclimation period. When you start with a new writer or a new client from the writer's standpoint, you've got to get up to speed. Okay, I'm getting the impression from what Anna's saying, it's been going on for some time, and there's no speed being gotten to. Okay, that to me is a problem because there's a learning curve, certainly. But you got to see progress.
But if they're not learning, then that curve becomes restrictive.
Exactly. Then you have a problem. I mean, then why are you spending the money?
Well, that's why, oftentimes when I'm looking for a copywriter, and I know lots of people, yourself, Cabs, or other people, I'll reach out to them and say, do any of you guys in your stable have someone that's familiar with this topic, as opposed to just blatant, oh, Doc's my favorite copywriting company, let's get him. No, I want to know if you've got somebody in the stable that actually knows.
Sure. And obviously, it's been said many times, a good copywriter can write about anything, okay? And 2-3 years ago, I would have, I have said it, I would agree. A damn good copywriter still can, but there's a learning curve. So if you're doing something for a real estate site or somebody in the medical field, if you can find somebody that is already knowledgeable in that niche, you're 4 steps ahead.
Right. Because I don't agree with that supposition in the sense that, if I go out and grab a copywriter tomorrow and tell them to write me an article for Search Engine Land, you really think that's going to pass the mustard? No. Or music or anything, martial arts or anything else that I have, multiple decades experience in. I don't think, they're going to be able to just drop in and write it. But again, I guess that comes back to the type of content you're after. Is it evergreen, deep topic stuff, or is it just quick hit, entertainment value things?
Well, it certainly depends on what your goals are, what the copy is supposed to do. I mean, when you think about it, really, trying to find somebody that can generate content that is going to be informative or entertaining or convert and satisfy search engine requirements, has never been a cakewalk.
Kristen, this is a hangout. You actually use your voice, not the chat. So. Kind of the point of the whole headsets and mics.
Okay. So then my question that I just put in the chat was, so then does passion get in the way of being or finding a good copywriter? And like what I'm referring to is like the generalist versus like someone who niches. Because someone is passionate about a subject, that's what they make their whole whatever when they're going to get online. What they're going to go look for is information on a certain subject. And if they're very, very passionate about that, they may not be looking into all these other things. Does that hold them back as a copywriter? What do you think?
Well, passion is a very important thing in any business, but so is ability. The fact that somebody might be the most passionate individual around on a given topic, but they couldn't write their way out of a wet bag, you got an issue. By the same token, I think that if you're having to sacrifice one or the other, a good copywriter can do the job without the passion. In other words, they can generate the passion in their copy, whereas a bad writer, the passion alone is not going to cut it.
And would you hold them to the same time standards?
I think the time standard is going to be a case-by-case basis. For instance, in Ann's situation, it's going to be a function of many, many factors. How much is she spending? How heavy is the need for new content? How much pressure is she getting from her boss about why are our rankings not increasing, blah, blah, blah. Every single situation is going to be looked at separately. So, that's a call that the business has to make. The bottom line is, anytime that you're using either a vendor or a client, communication is critical. And if this copywriter is not hitting the mark consistently, then the communication with that copywriter needs to take on the flavor of, I need this to happen. You have an opportunity to make it happen, or I will find somebody that can.
Which I guess comes back to some of our recent Search Geek Speak sessions as far as tracking and establishing baselines of what is a good piece of content. Does it satisfy the goals? What is it doing?
Yeah, the goals
is
are
it getting shared? Is it attracting links? Is it accomplishing the needs of what we set out to do? So I guess that comes back to having measurements in place to be able to do that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And if the client is not doing analytics on where their traffic's coming from and what terms that they seem to be hitting, which pages they're landing on, then it's a crapshoot. You don't really know. And unfortunately, we both know an awful lot of clients, they're making gut calls on what works. I mean, some of them don't even, if they have analytics, they don't have a link to it. They don't know where to find it. They don't know how to use it. And a disturbing number of them don't even have it set up.
Sorry, what was that, Ann?
I was just going to say, it's very clear to me what I'm expecting, which is comments, and I'm expecting shares and something useful. So, I'm now actually putting money behind it, right? So all the successful blogs that I've ever seen are all really blogs that do a giveaway of some sort. So, and that really does work with getting engagement and comments. And so now I'm overlaying a promotion for getting comments, and I'm starting to see the comments, but it really has to be shareable. And I've said the goal is that people are sharing this, and it's got to be that good. And so I've now directed him to get with the sales guys, because the sales guys are the ones that are really know the product. They're the product experts. So more to come on it.
Well, and customer service. You know what I mean? I'm forever talking to clients that don't seem to get the fact when I come in the door and we're talking about content strategy, I'm like, talk to your salespeople. Talk to your customer service people, because the salespeople are getting what we call objections to the sale. You know what I mean? So these are common questions that they're getting all the time. They, bang, there's a piece of content. Customer service people, are they getting a lot of the same kind of questions? Are they dealing with a lot of the same issues? Boom, there's a piece of content. You know what I mean? Yeah, you need to really use all of your various other departments when you're thinking about content, because they all have an insight and they all have things that they're dealing with. If you're creating content based upon, common objections to the sale of that product, it's something you want on the site, because a lot of people don't want to call the customer sales team. They don't want to contact. They're a little shy. They hide behind their computer. So if we have those answers on the site, great. The same thing with customer service. You can save a company money, especially larger ones, by leaps and bounds if your FAQs cover these things that people are calling you all day long with. Because now I've got to hire 3 more people in the call center, as opposed to that answer being on the site and someone could find an answer without me having to hire 4 more staff. You know what I mean? You can literally talk to companies and help them save money by letting them better understand how they can use these departments for, content creation, because it's a great thing. You know what I mean? And you can literally get them on board with this idea with the content strategy by the fact that, you're going to save money, or you might sell more, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think we're doing fairly well, considering, the blog wasn't even really an active place before I arrived. So I'm pleased that we're getting content out as fast as we are, and he does do a good job, because, he gets it done. Is it, exactly the stuff that's shareable? I think we're fine-tuning, and I think bringing in sales and customer service and those types of things are only going to make the content get better.
Well, I think, too, Ann, you always have to ask the question of yourself, because communication is a double-edged sword. Is the copywriter not understanding what you're telling him, or are you not telling him in an understandable fashion? Because it behooves both of you to ensure that there's a good understanding of what's needed. Now, if you determine that if he's able to repeat back to you precisely what you're trying to communicate, and you know that he's understanding, and yet he's not delivering. Now you have an abilities issue that perhaps you need to make a replacement. But you got to be sure that you're getting the point across to him the right way too, you know. And that's sometimes more difficult than it seems. You know, we tend to hear things in the tone of voice that we're saying them, and assume that people understand them the same way, and that's not always the case.
Agreed. Good feedback.
Deb, you still out there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. Well, I wanted to move on to some link building chatter, so that's why I'm asking.
I just think you guys are so patient. Man, if somebody gave me something after the second revision I didn't like, I'd fire them. You guys have way more patience than I do.
Kick him to the curb, huh?
I do.
That's what happens when you. That's what happens when you hire friends.
Kill him and eat him.
I
All right.
don't know. Patience is not one of my virtues.
So Deb, I don't know. I came across a few articles recently. Here, I'll go and find them. Okay. So, there we go. So the first one was from the boys at Link Research. And I know we actually had a bit of a laugh about this in the Dojo chat room because, well, a company that does link cleanups for a living probably shouldn't be giving link building advice because really, you know, they're more conservative. Anyways, so, you know, we had some usual suspects in here as far as, you know, ask for backlinks, build relationships. Again, Deb, does a concept for link building 2015 that says build relationship that's less than a paragraph long, is that really helping anyone? I'm not sure if that really does. But, you know, like we got stuff like start a blog, put your site in trustworthy directories. Yes, directories. 2015. Write a good guest post. Now this looks like they've taken a collection of stuff that they're cleaning up all the time. And then both of our friend, Julie Joyce wrote one over on Search Engine Land that I actually did like, which was 5 pieces of content, 25 link ideas. It's on the event page, folks, for those interested. And, you know, I thought she did a really, really good job as far as what she would say, because, you know, she's thinking of useful things. So again, I guess, so my question to you, Dan, would be, you know, if you're giving any kind of advice at this point, you know, are you in the school of creating links or trying to create links for the sake of having links, like the first article, or are you in the camp like Julie is of creating useful content, promoting it properly, and that by, you know, within itself will create the links for you?
Content.
Or are you a bit of both these days?
Well, no, I think if you're asking for a general, what's the word I'm trying to think? My brain isn't working today because I'm on migraine medication, so it's like my brain is working slower than faster than my mouth.
This is your brain on drugs.
I know. Ugh. I think it's really easy to say create good content and get links, and I think that works for all industries across the board. But the reality is that, you know, it doesn't work for all industries across the board. When you get into some of the financial areas and you get into some of the engineering areas and some of your more, what I call, you know, the more difficult areas to write for, it becomes hard. It really does. And you can't write an article and have business people and financial people link to it unless it's something very, you know, spectacular. For the average,
but in a niche like that, aren't the competitors up against that same problem?
Oh, absolutely, and they're not going to
levels it a little bit at least.
They're not going to link to each other too. I think it's one of those things where you take those kinds of pieces of information and pull them apart and see if you can find something that works for you, you know, in your area. But you have to know your area first. It doesn't work for everybody all the time, and it's really, you need to do a super duper link audit before you make a recommendation to somebody about creating content. I mean, what an easy thing to say. Well, create good content, write a good this, do that. It's not always quite that easy. You you know, sometimes, and again, in some of those harder niches or very, very competitive niches, you need to do different things. You need to be a little more creative. You need to think about traditional off-site and offline marketing and tap into that so that you can get online links. It's not as easy as it all sounds. And so let me step back for a second about link research tools. You know, Christoph Semper owns a tool company, and they sell tools. And so they write that kind of information to help people. And 99% of the people that use his tools come into it on the newbie or the newish level. And that kind of information is valuable to them. It's invaluable for a lot of people. You'd be surprised. For people like us,
I'm kind of the mind that 2.5 sentences about something really, to me, that's just not useful. Like, where's the caveats about guest blogging? Where's the caveats about directories? They don't really get into all that. It's just like a,
but you know what, Dave?
Less than a paragraph. That, to me, that's risky on its own. Like, I'm not sure if that's really.
I don't think it's his responsibility to educate them. I think it's his responsibility to bring that stuff to people's attention and let them move on. His responsibility as a tool owner is to educate them how to use the tool. And he does a fairly good job of that with all of the videos and the written stuff that he has on his site. As a matter of fact, most of them do. Raven and all. One reason for using Raven, and I have no financial interest in them, is you can pick up the phone and call them and they will talk to you. That's awesome. SEMrush and the rest of them, all of them have pretty good tutorials. But I don't see that it's their responsibility to train you on how to do that. You need to look it up and do that on your own. That's one of those mindsets, that we've talked about before. People expect everything to be handed to them and given to them and explained, every step of the way so that they can turn around and go out and make $1 million. It doesn't work that way. You want something, you have to work for it, and you're going to have to take the time to look for it. So, Julie's article, Julie does great articles for Search Engine Land. She really does. And disclaimer here, Julie and I are personal friends outside of work.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. She's a friend. But, in hers at least, I found myself creatively thinking outside the box. She, obviously what she's doing in those examples isn't applicable to every client I have, but at least it gets me thinking, hey, there's a good idea. I can go in this direction, or I can take that idea as a genesis and move forward with it.
But that's what those articles are for, and they're on the sites like Search Engine Land just to, whet your appetite enough so that you take them and move on. They're not supposed to educate you or build your business for you. They're supposed to be there as just something that you learn from and you move on. And that's, a lot of times Moz has this mentality, I think, which works for them apparently. They want to be the educator, they want to be sharing, and they have a tool. They've chosen to be in that role with their whiteboards and their UMOZ and all the rest of it. Probably leaving something out here, so I'm sorry. But
and I think they're a community as well as a tool provider. They are really a community as well.
All of those articles, I think they're just enough to get you going into looking on your own. From that point forward, there's a lot of other material out there that gets into depth and detail about how to do something. But you need to take the time to find all of that. People want everything handed to them on a platter, make it easy.
Which, of course, Steve and Terry brings us back to another argument this week, which was, what gets published out there, and how far do you go with it, and should the reader be expected to think for themselves? And I guess, Marge, everybody got into that conversation with Jeffrey this week. But I think you're making a good point, Deb, that at some point the person reading has to think for themselves and has to go beyond what taking something at bare space value. And Steve and Terry, I always think about the whole penguin myths thing. So.
Yeah, I personally don't have a problem with short articles as long as there's some element that's lets you understand that this is just a short article and that you need to do more. It's not
I used to have like 10 links to other stuff to read once you were done mine. You know what I mean? Like, if you're, I'd write the article, and then at the end I'd put like 10 different links. Hey, keep going, don't stop here. Keep digging, go look here, here, and here.
What, you mean you link out from your posts? Is that something people do?
In the old days, you can't do that anymore. It's scary. Don't do it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not a fan assuming, people understand everything. I think a lot of it, like I was reading something the other day by supposedly an expert, how shares and all this other stuff is, pushing rankings. Well, take a look at the robot text, buddy, because search engine isn't supposed to be, indexing that stuff. So how can it, help your ranking?
Well,
not in the way you're thinking.
But in fairness, Terry, that article was written over a year ago, and it was written over a year ago, and Facebook does use some part. Wrong. Let me start over. Bing does use some part of Facebook's postings in their algorithm. If you have something that's popular enough and gets enough likes, it does pop up in Bing's search results for a short period of time.
Actually, I think Terry was talking about Twitter, and if you look at the robots.txt up until recently, a lot of it was blocked.
Well, but the article didn't specify Twitter. It specified social media, and it included Facebook and Twitter. And the author was Neil Patel, and it was on the QuickSprout site. It's out there for public.
I've been saying that for a long time, Deb, that none of that stuff is indexable. And, I made a point of it because there's all these people talking in the dojo room about it. I went and looked and said, well, it's all blocked by robots text. Like, how can these things really be doing what you're saying? And that's what bothered me more than anything, is the fact that, if you're going to say it helps rankings, well, the first thing you should do is actually see if it's indexable.
He wrote a sensational headline to get eyeballs, and if you go through that article carefully, he uses words like the possibility or mostly or probably spread throughout there. And then, like I showed you in the comments, he does come into the comments and say, I could very well be wrong about all of this.
Well, no, but that's the way to be. I'll agree with that. You know what I mean? Me and Bill have been doing that for years. That it's always might be, possibly, could be. I don't know, but this is my hypothesis.
This is what I think. This is.
Yeah, and that's I think as long as people put that into an article, I'm usually fine with it, unless it's completely, insane. But
that's what, to me, it's, you should write off the top, say this is all conjecture. Right at the beginning of your article, tell people that you're hypothesizing. That way they can decide whether they want to read it or not. Because some people, it's doing them injustice because they really don't know what, is hypothesis and what's true.
I've been doing that for a long time.
I worry about most because they're the ones who are killing our rep.
No, I understand. But if they did that, nobody would read down. Nobody would read down past that first paragraph. They're going to just plunk it away. They don't. It's just the same way when you go buy a car, they list all of the wonderful things about the car, and then very small down on the right-hand side, there is that price tag. It's the same difference when you're writing copy like that. You're trying to get eyeballs. You build it up. It's sensational. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but that's what he does, and that's where that article came in. And this comes kind of back to what we were talking about a minute ago. It's really up to the person to take their time and to have the responsibility to say, okay, well, what is this? Do you ever believe one site or one person completely? You shouldn't. You should not.
Yeah. Can you really teach critical thinking? Someone either is going to or is not.
Well, I know one thing, David. You can write a book about it. It doesn't help much.
But do you take the first opinion from the doctor if you have something major going on? You shouldn't.
Nope.
Do you take the first opinion for anything that you read when it comes to your personal finances? You really shouldn't.
You take it as a jumping off place.
Well, you've got to have some place to start, absolutely. And so that's all he does, though. But the QuickSprout blog, it's not exactly the end-all, be-all for quality content, information, and breaking news. It's, and you got to realize that. So some of the onus needs to go back on the person doing the reading and using the information to market their business. Goodness gracious, I mean, you just certainly don't take the first thing that comes your way. But should he have done what he did and not said anything? Well, he could have been a little more clear about it, but that he couldn't write his article. And nobody called him out on it. That's the other thing. Nobody said, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Nobody did.
If I did that every time I saw something that I thought that, I'd be the guy who cried wolf, basically.
Well, that's true. And you know what? What he writes on his website, that's his business.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, it's just like that whole Moz crap the other day. What they put on that's up to them. It comes back to the person doing the reading. It's like, really, you're going to go for that? That's what's going to float your boat. That's what's going to carry you through. That's what you're going to build your business on. Put your children through college. Really? So I always just kind of shake my head and laugh and move on. I don't disagree with you. I think it's terrible, but you know what? It is what it is, and there's no rules. There's no what's the thing called? We don't have anything definitive in our business to base anything on either, because
like regulation.
Can you what?
Any regulation?
No, that's it. Thank you. There isn't any. So, anybody can call themselves an SEO. There's no shingle. There's no test. There's no certification. There's no nothing.
Most everybody does.
I do not want regulation. I want to be very clear on that point.
No, I'm not sure that I want regulation either, but I would like to have some accreditation somewhere. And I've started looking into, we've got one here locally, and I'm going to enroll when they start again in the spring. I'd like to have some sort of degree program from an accredited college that says that I've done internet marketing. I would like to have that. I have an undergraduate degree, in business, but it's not in internet marketing. And I would like to have some sort of accreditation.
You know what? Just so I can throw something out for you, you can get every book that they even give at those schools online, and I buy them all the time. And as much as, I know you want I think really the examples of your works, the documentation that you do on your campaigns, the content that you write, I think that says a lot about your knowledge level. And I've often been like, I should go back and get a master's, because I'm just like you. I want that. But then I look, and there's just so much information out there that I almost feel like it would be better to just do it on my own.
Can I say something? I heard Deborah saying she wishes she had a acknowledgement that she is an expert in internet marketing. I think having expertise or certification in marketing is adequate, because here comes one of my mantras: marketing is marketing, and the internet is just a channel.
I don't disagree.
So,
I graduated from college in 1980 when there was no such thing as the word computer, no cell phones, no nothing. So it's been a while for me. I have a business administration degree. I've worked in marketing all my life for some companies that sent me on to school. I have worked toward an MBA. I kept getting pregnant, so I never finished my MBA.
Yeah, that happened to me too.
yeah, trench time is far more valuable than a certificate, in my opinion. It's if you're in the trenches, if you're working it, getting your hands dirty, you're learning a heck of a lot more than they can teach you in academia, unless they change the way they look at academia. What, Ann?
The colleges, they just can't keep up. I'm actually working to start teaching at a junior college out here, and they literally cannot keep up with how fast things change and how fast the internet changes. And I really
Absolutely.
think being active in your marketing is the most important thing.
I don't disagree.
We can't keep up.
No, it's true.
Yes.
That's true. I don't disagree. But I will tell you that, when I go up against other companies, and I go as a solo entrepreneur and I pitch for companies and brands and associations when I go to DC, invariably one of the questions that I'm asked is, where did you go to school for this? And it's like, well,
yeah, but they forget your age, and that's annoying. You're over 40, right, Deborah? Are you over 40?
No.
No comment. She's about 32, I think.
Okay. Well, I mean, when they start asking about what's your GPA and where did you go to school, and you're obviously an adult, it's like, come on, that's what you ask the 22-year-olds. I mean,
That's
and
not actually
Well,
no.
and at the end of the day, Marge, when I've interviewed people for positions and things like that, I'll take the person with the experience over the person with the paperwork every time. If you've got paper and experience, great, but to me, the experience is always more important.
That's not always the case in the real world.
Well, no, it
my
depends on the
son-in-law.
job. I'm not interviewing for rocket scientists, though. You know what I mean? So.
But here's the thing: we have such a bad reputation out there, and that's what I come against all the time. You have such a bad reputation in the SEO community that they want people that they feel have accredited backgrounds, and that's where I'm coming from with this. I just like to have the shingle as well as the experience. And if it means I need to go someplace for a certificate to a community college or someplace online, I'm going to do it.
No, I agree with you, but again, it always comes back to the same two problems. One, it's a black box, so this is Google, so it's a black box. It's hard to really have a set standardization of any kind. And two, who sets that? You know how this industry is. You know what I mean? The Maz's and Aaron's group and whoever, all these larger groups that have followings all have different viewpoints and approaches and vested interests.
Yeah, let's be less organized than a fucking plumber. Yeah, let's be less organized than a fucking plumber. For Christ's sake. I mean...
Yeah, but a plumber, you still have some standards you can put in place.
They have fucking certification, Dave. Not just anybody.
But even Reach, hey, I was in the construction business.
I am a plumber.
I owned a construction company for 10 years, man, and believe me, every area you go to, even here in Ontario, has different building codes. So even that, you know what I mean? So that's how you get a license to be a plumber in an area, is by understanding the building code of that region. But even with plumbers, it's not always cut and dry because it depends on the building codes of that area.
And I just want to say
it's run by the Ontario government, plumber.
I want to say one more thing on Deborah's comment. Are you finished, Terry?
Yeah.
Okay, one more thing to Deborah. If you want to trade one bad reputation for another, sock an internet marketing degree on your resume. I mean, that quote unquote industry is just, viewed very poorly, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
Which I would agree with.
Well, there isn't a part of this that doesn't have a bad reputation. Web designers, SEOs, internet marketers, name one that doesn't have a bad rep.
Bingo.
Because most people have no fucking training, no business being in business. No standard.
Well, it's like our old favorite Steve.
That's the problem.
Steve and I spent many years together on the forums, and it used to be one of our favorites, Steve, if you know this one well, I'm sure, was, some guy, I just have clients in SEO. I am looking for ways to make ranking. How do I do this? It was like, why do you even have a client if you're coming here asking advice? Like, no, you should not have a client. But Steve, that comes down to the buyer beware stuff we talked about earlier, though. Are people vetting the vendors they're getting? Like, there's disreputable people in auto mechanics and contractors.
And to that point, David, do they know how to vet them?
Yeah, most people can't.
Do they know what to look for?
That's like me trying to vet doctors, Dave, because I can't. All I know is he's got a certificate. I know nothing about doctors. And why should I have to learn about a doctor in order to find one? Why should I have to learn what the doctor does? If someone has to learn what I do to hire me, why should they bother to hire me? Just do it yourself. This is what's so nonsensical about all of this. All these people who want no regulation, no standard. Hell, I want a bar. I want a standard that says this guy knows at least this much, because that's a start. Because 9 of the guys out there out of 10 right now don't even have a start. They have nothing. They've got, what they can learn in a forum from other people, and we just had a discussion about the quality of stuff that they're, they're not able to really judge how good the information is that they're reading. And, that's, if we tried to do this sort of thing, then there would be standards. There would be someone who wanted to take a course would at least have something to base a course on. Right now, you got nothing to base it on. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because how do you know these people are good? Well, you don't. Unless you've hired them. Like,
Yay!
no way to distinguish a bad course from a good course.
Caveat emptor.
But most people aren't in the fucking position to caveat emptor.
It's Friday, people. Yeah.
I agree with what Terry's saying. Typically, I agree with what Terry's saying, especially when he gets angry. I love it even more.
I've been saying this for 15 fucking years.
All right.
But you ain't done nothing about it.
Well, these two last couple of weeks, for example, a lot of people have been coming against me, pretending to be various body parts of mine and posting on SE Roundtable, making various comments. I'm getting kind of worried. My prostate was on there talking. Now my hairpiece was on there talking. God forbid we'll be talking on there next, or what it's going to say. But actually, so you have that one problem that anyone can just say, I'm an amateur, Josh is an amateur, Josh knows what he's talking about, blah, 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 blah. Whether it's true or not, they can say that. But at the same time...
When that guy gets caught, Josh, that doctor who's a fake doctor, he goes to frickin' jail. You get caught for saying you're an SEO when you're not. What happens? Screwed customers. That's it.
Well, nothing. I mean, nothing happens. Whether I'm actually good at it or not, nothing will happen because there's no certification. But at the same time, so a certification, if someone said that, I could say, yeah, I have a PhD in SEO, F off. At least I would have a recourse to say something to the internet bullies on one hand. But on the other hand, actually, in this case, I've found that all press is good press. Actually, they've helped out my SEO business tremendously. And this is getting to your point, Terry, is that another way of telling whether someone knows what they're talking about for SEO is in the quality of their publications. And so people have looked up my name, watched my videos. My videos have skyrocketed, the amount of people who've watched them. I have like 21,000 views on one of my videos now. And so my business has just exploded from that. So on the one hand,
at least you got your tag right.
Prostate talking at you.
At least you got your tag right today. It says infamous. We'll go with that.
Yeah, this is true.
My God, that's funny as hell. Steve, were you trying to throw something there, man?
I was just saying, going back to Terry's rant, just because I like setting him off. Who's going to create certification? I mean, when it comes right down to it, you're back to the Google certifications. You're back to Yahoo certifications, Bing certifications, Microsoft, networking certifications. If the people who created the industry tools like search don't make these certifications, nobody else is qualified to do it. Anything else you create is going to be a half-assed, low-level, surface-level approach. So what's the point?
And strange as it may sound to a lot of people, that I'm actually, kind of to a large degree, always agreed with Steve on this point at least, because again, they have the black box. So the Moz or someone else is going to create a certification.
I mean, they already do.
Has nothing to do with the black box, Dave, and ranking, right? Like, come on, there's a big part of this that's nothing but protocols and, proper knowing when to use the proper HTML objects, how to write, how to code stuff properly. I mean, come on. Like, I didn't say it was a certification for ranking in Google. I said it's a certification that you know something about SEO, like what is a 301 redirect.
Yeah, well, look how disjointed the industry is, guys. So,
and would not people be able to get, not have to deal with the guy who's in a forum, working for a client and asking, what's a 301 and how do I do it?
Who's going to certify the guys giving the certification then? I mean, you run into this issue. Look at Google. They already have an AdWords certification. already have an analytics class with certificates, it wouldn't be that hard for them to
So you
add
think
an SEO
Google is
class.
the only guys who know why a 301 redirect should be used, when it
No,
should be
I'm saying
used,
they're
and
the
how
only
it
qualified
works?
to do it for.
So
Pardon me?
crowdsource it. Crowdsource it. How the question
Yeah.
you have? Who
That's a great
involved in the certifications? My answer is everybody.
No,
Make
but-
it completely open. Make it completely democratic.
You
Vote
can make the same.
20 basic questions. What is a 301? What does it do? Basic technical questions that we can get a good high-level consensus on, that people are like, a 301 is for when you're moving this page to this page, and thousands of people can vote, and if they don't like the answers, so you're going to get a 2 to 3% variance of people who are idiots and blah, 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 but really you're going to get a high correlation of people. These people have voted that these people know what they're talking about based on these 20 questions, which are highly technical and pretty much all facts that most everybody agrees on who knows what they're talking about. And at the very least, that will weed out the, no offense to people in India or people in the Philippines, but it'll weed out the outsourcers who barely understand English, who are just getting into the business and are still watching videos from 10 years ago and think they're relevant. At least it'll weed that out.
All right, Deb, you still with me?
Yep, I'm listening.
Okay, there's a question here that I thought I'd throw to you first from the Q&A, which is Deborah Norton would like to know why, if SEMPO should be the people creating it. Yes, and I am setting out for that question.
I don't know anything about SEMPO. I'm not involved with SEMPO. Is that
Good
what
on
you're-
you.
Huh?
Good on you.
No, I mean, except in 2003 when SEMPO started, it was Barbara and Dana Todd, myself, Christine Churchill, I'm trying to remember who else was there that day. There were a handful of us that were, Jill, and from that point forward, I never got involved with SEMPO. Is that the question? I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read here.
Anybody
Simple
else,
tries to make
anyone
money
else
off it.
have an
That's why they
opinion
can't
as to-
do it and shouldn't do it.
I really don't know. You know, let me try to think who does know about that. Simon would know about that.
Well, you
Bill,
know, again, to me, at the end of the day, I think a level of agreement, at least upon the people that have been, you know, the forefathers of this industry, and those that are, you know, considered above the 10% level, there still has to be some sort of consensus. There has to be, and SEMPO's not going to be able to do that on their own. Moz isn't going to be able to do that on their own. SEO Book is going to be able to do that on their own. You know, these more prominent communities that we have, again, I don't think they, well, for the most part, they don't agree on shit. So trying to get any of these groups, SEMPO included, to, you know, put some doctrine for it, I don't think it's ever going to work that way.
There's never going to be a consensus.
Hey, can I say
Why?
something?
Because people think like that. That's why. That's why.
I'm
Well,
reading through the.
That's a good point, Terry. There won't be consensus until you try and get consensus. There won't be
Well,
consensus.
But if Terry went out and wrote some sort of standardization, do you think he'd reach out to the Moz? Probably not. So
I reach out to everybody. I don't believe in this. I don't believe it should be paid for. You know, I don't think people should make money off it. You know, which everybody who's tried it has tried to make money off it.
and for the record, you know, back
It's not
when
about making money. It's about.
back when Mike Graham, is Mike still over there? Is he just gone down a roll, or did he leave altogether? I don't even.
I don't know.
I believe Mike left.
Anymore.
Okay, so but you know, at one point when Mike Graham was over at SEMPO, he approached us at the dojo and me and Terry, and we sat down on Skype and we talked about all this stuff ad nauseum. You know what I mean? We've had these discussions for years. And again, you know, I said the same thing at the time with Mike was, you know, you got to get the Moz, you got to get Aaron, you got to get everyone else on board if you're going to have any kind of movement towards this.
Mike is not with SEMPO.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Mike's actually in Hong Kong on vacation. You want to talk to Chris Boggs if you want to talk about SEMPO.
No, but my point was is that this discussion's been had and fielded so many times.
So can I go back to the Q&A? I didn't know the Q&A was going. Again, I am like out in the ozone. There was a comment in here about a particular individual who does link building that you should read.
Airport.
Yeah.
There's something in my throat there.
I want to go on record as saying you cannot depend on one person for your information. You just can't. One person is, great to get your feet wet, but you need to read about, read a lot of sites and a lot of different people. You cannot take the word of one individual. I don't care what it is. So that's all I have to say about that.
Well, you could try and figure it out on yourself too, but we don't want to raise the bar too high.
What do you mean, Terry? We can't let
Well, heaven forbid.
Can't let others think for us. We can't just read an article and take it.
Dave, like when Google makes an announcement, do I run out to the forums and ask what's going on? I sit and I try and figure it out, right? That's what we do. We don't go running out and saying all this crap. Because in the end, we usually end up saying, well, all these guys are probably wrong because, they've jumped in before it's even released and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Wiz, what's up, man? Good to see you. What the hell is the search impact tool? You want to get that? You can
the other hangout must be closed now, eh, bud?
Oh, be nice to Wiz.
Not till April.
Anyways, Wiz, what do you got, man? No Wiz.
Wiz has always got the big smile.
He's just firing shit at us from the back.
Wiz, unmute your microphone, sweetie.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
There you go. Anyways, what do we got, buddy?
Yeah,
By the way, anyways, welcome back. Good to see you in a while.
Yeah, no, thank you. Probably when we go offline, we'll talk about it because.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. It's because it's still confidential. I mean, who had the access to it so far from you guys? Probably Josh.
No, I think Boris got access. I haven't yet.
Google secret projects that only work half-ass?
No.
That's what I read this morning.
I blame this on the leaks.
That's fine.
Is that the new analytics?
Well, I think that's the new
Webmaster Tool.
Yeah, it's a replacement of the search queries, and it's still in alpha, so it's way early to say where it's going. But they're really requesting a lot of feedback from webmasters. They sent I think yesterday, the first batch of webmasters to get feedback from them, and I think next week or the week after that, they'll send another batch of webmasters to get feedback from them too.
Hey, look at the certificate Wiz has on the back of his wall, guys.
Whatever.
Oh, isn't that nice? It's all lonely back there. Wow.
I have a dinosaur on the back of my wall.
That's his public school. They're from public school. I graduated too. Grade 8 and grade 12.
You graduated from the school of hard knocks, Terry.
Well, that's where I learned SEO, yeah.
The mean streets of Toronto.
All the streets are mean where I was. Vancouver, Calgary.
All my social profiles have the school of hard knocks listed as
When my children ask me about my college days, they'll say things like, "Mom, did y'all have overhead projectors when you were in college?" I'm like, yeah.
No, the puppets with the fire on the wall.
And just say, not yet.
No, they just don't understand. We have a rotary phone in the attic that I keep, or I don't have it anymore, and Trey couldn't figure out how to use it. He was about 9 years old, couldn't figure out how to use it. So it was kind of cute, but they do ask me things like that. When I was doing the college tours with him last year, I'd say, "Oh my God, look at that! I remember those." And they had those when you were in school, and it's like, "Shit, Christmas."
Yeah, one house school barn.
Deborah, you should have kept the rotary phone and made a planter out of it.
I was disappointed, though, that John Mueller indicated that Google would be backing down on the request to have algorithmic reports in the search queries section. It looked like they were somewhat convinced they were going to do it, but it seems like legal has told them once again that they cannot for liability reasons, vis-a-vis indicating a site is low quality. I happen to know there's numerous lawsuits going on with them right now for them saying that
dude. And they always have been. And again, so yeah, I can see where they're coming through with that. Yeah, that's probably a bad idea.
Yep.
You know, if I was legal, I'd be saying the same thing, man. I'd be like, no, you probably don't want to go down that road.
Well, they never had to go down that road to begin with. Why did they characterize those websites as low quality? Why didn't they say that the task completion rate is too low?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Either way, the result would be the same. Just a dog of a different color.
Well, yeah, but the connotation would
they
be
call
less
it low quality site, or you know, this site is crap. We want no user to go there. How about that?
One is slanderous and defamation of character, and the other is not.
No, it's not.
Well, that's what the basis of the lawsuits are.
They do whatever they want. They're a business.
Besides,
they cannot do whatever they want.
Their customers onto those sites. So maybe they feel responsible for where they're sending those people.
Possibly, but they don't have to characterize certain websites.
I don't think they stand a snowball's chance in hell in court. They'll just have wasted their money.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Depends if a big documentary comes out.
Okay.
It's all a matter of public perception. Right now, Google is controlling public perception. If other people try to control public perception, then public perception would change.
So you're thinking if people knew what sites were being removed from the results so they don't have to deal with them, that they're going to care. That they're going to actually think that Google is doing something bad. I don't think so, Josh.
Well, I'll let history be my judge.
Feel bad because they're not getting free advertising. But I'm sure the users, in a lot of cases, are happy that they're doing it.
If Google didn't exist, all the businesses that succeed online would still do so, and more that have been destroyed would not have been destroyed.
Okay, wow.
If Google didn't exist, everyone would be found in Bing.
Yep, and so would the Borker. The Borker would still be online ripping off people and...
the Borker.
You know, like in both ways, too.
Well,
there are merchants that don't deserve to be online because they're stealing from people.
I agree, and there's merchants who don't deserve to be online because they're doing things like child pornography and stuff like that. And I know that you would say that that would be a bad thing as well. I've seen your Twitter feeds, but that's not the point. It's not that's too broad a brush. It's not. Well, we have to hit everyone, obliterate them all to hell, just so we can get these, few bad guys. They could be more discriminating if they want to be. They can be less punitive if they want to be. It's entirely possible that the general public, when someone shows it to them, will think that Google is painting with far too broad a brush and has far too much power for a private company.
Well, again, you want to start talking if the public was aware of it. I don't think ranking factors would be their big issue. If you start to look at how Google's literally taking over the internet. If I was bringing anything to light, I'd probably go more with the fact that, all your websites belong to us and they'll be bringing back their own information.
Someone has cleaned up a number of Penguin sites. Believe me, Google did everybody a big fucking favor. Because most of the sites I've seen did not deserve the rank. Period.
Well, I don't know if your sampling is definitive for the entire industry.
Josh, you ever
I'm
worked
not saying it is.
Josh, you must have worked with clients that don't actually need to fucking build links or anything like that. That they're literally that good a company, that good a website, that good a user experience, that good at the content they put out, that they're actually at the top where they deserve to be because they just do, because of what they are. I mean, I've got clients with 1.5 million friggin' links, never built a damn link. People actually like what they do and what they're providing. You know, and so I think that speaks to what Terry's saying, that those that just are building crap and creating crap and are there for the, you know, because they manipulated an algorithm or two. You know,
Wouldn't a
it's
better
totally different. Sorry?
Wouldn't a better solution to all of this, though, instead of an all-powerful algorithm that makes these decisions for you, been a simple button next to the link that says "Never show me this website again"?
With you there, buddy. Yep. Or even, you know, I mean, not even this website. You know, don't show me this, you know, website for this query maybe or something. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to block a website altogether, but if I'm researching a topic, I've already read this article, and sometimes I wouldn't even count that as a bad strike algorithmically. It just means I've already disseminated this article, and I don't want to see this article again. I'd like to see some
right. Yeah, right.
I wouldn't count it as a strike at all. I would simply make an option. It's like, I don't want to see this website, and then it comes up with another pop-up. It says, for this query or ever.
Right. Or I don't want to see this page again. Once again, if I'm researching something, I've just downloaded it into my brain. Now I'm looking for new perspectives on that topic. You know, like you're saying, I'd be more than happy to search history-wise, say, yeah, don't show me this page again. I've seen it, not interested. You know, so yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
We used to have that. We had the block button.
Yep.
And they used it for a year or so, and to populate some of the Panda data, and then they got rid of it.
Yep. Just like everything else they've done, they use the users to do their algorithmic testing and refine the algorithm, and then take away the tool.
Yeah. Author snippet, disavow tool.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the author snippet.
I hear what you guys are saying.
It was no fucking good. It did nothing. It was not useful. Not
it
worth
trained the algorithm.
time.
It was very useful for what it was used for.
I hear what you guys are saying about what sites supposedly deserve to rank and which ones do not. And yeah, I've run across tons of clients that, yeah, I could see they're doing a really good job, and I could see why they have all these links. They've never tried to build any links. And I've had also tons of clients who had to fight tooth and nail for links and maybe even cheated a little bit. We've all had those kinds of clients. I want to change the discussion entirely. I think this is the complete wrong discussion to be having. It's not for us to say who deserves to rank or not. I don't know who deserves to rank. That's another subjective judgment that I find incredibly dangerous to try and go down because it's a double-edged sword. All I know is that I want to make, just on this point, and I'm not going to say anything else about it, we'll move on. I want to make a documentary that shows what happens to people, to real people, when Google punishes these websites. Because they're not punishing a website. There's a business attached to the website that they're punishing.
Dude, it's fucking depressing. I came out myself last year on Facebook because I'd had enough of doing forensics because I'm tired of watching, you know, small businesses get hurt like this. I mean, it's depressing. I mean, you know, client after client, I've got people telling me, you know, I've got 6 months left. I'm gonna have to shut the doors. You know, my kids, we're cutting back, and I can barely eat, or this and that and the next, and it's depressing.
I get those emails weekly. Every week.
Steve and I have long had the discussion between us that, you know, if you just disregard links you don't like, as opposed to penalizing for this problem goes away. You know what I mean? And that's sad. You know, remember, Steve, last week you and I were looking at that article, and you said it's actually kind of low. You know, over 60, was it 70% of the people that guy asked, Terry? Steve, I mean, this guy was asking people if they wanted to buy negative SEO, just for fun, as an experiment. He wasn't actually going to go out, who knows. But anyways, he said he wasn't going to go out and do it. But over, I don't know, Steve, was it like 70% or something? Either wanted more information or wanted to sign up for it.
It was a lot. So it was a high percentage.
Yeah.
It was over 70%.
And Google enables this. And again, like you're saying, Josh, are you hurting the business owner or are you hurting the SEO? You're hurting the business owner. The SEO is going to go back and, you know, find another client, sell his crappy service tomorrow, and keep making money. So you're only hurting the poor, uneducated freaking business owner. You know, and that's the problem. You know, I
very much like to go to companies selling negative SEO as well and start hammering on them too. I'm having difficult finding any that are willing to appear on camera, unsurprisingly.
Why? Because what they're
doing. Yeah. You guys know of any? I'd love to do the camera thing and walk in and start asking them questions.
That's actually against the law in the USA.
Well, I'll have to do it up in Canada land here.
Hey, Josh.
No, I mean, for someone who's doing negative SEO, that's illegal in the U.S. I don't know about Canada.
To sell negative SEO?
to do negative SEO. If you got caught, would be illegal.
Really?
Yes.
Since when? What law applies to that?
Are you talking
It could
criminal,
be-
or are you
it
talking
could be-
criminal, or?
It's possible it could be flagged under illegal restraint of trade.
Yeah. What Steve said.
We'll have to see. Well, a case will have to come out saying that first, and then.
Exactly.
You
Somebody's
know that in the United States, it's basically slander to say something bad about your competitors.
if it's
I
not
got
true.
sued for that. I know it. So, you know,
If
things
it's
are a
not
little
true.
different there, Josh. You know, the laws are a lot different.
The truth is your ally.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
truth
not
will
Canada.
set you free.
And Google is your friend.
Doc
John?
Sheldon, you had a comment before.
Yeah, I had a question for you. I'm just curious, this documentary you're talking about the negative impacts on some businesses, how some of them have been tanked by Google actions. You're going to talk about some of the positive things too, about the hundreds of billions of dollars that have been added to the economy by Google's actions, and how much that's cleaned up, and how many 9-year-old girls are no longer being victimized, or 9-year-old boys seeing porn sites, that kind of stuff. Because I think if you're gonna present a credible documentary, you need to hit both sides, don't you?
Yeah, of course, you're absolutely right. That's always been the plan. That's always been my intention. The teaser trailer I put out, David, I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, but the teaser trailer I put out is
Not you, really. No.
it's,
Yeah, not kidding. Go ahead.
is merely to drum up support, to try and find people who've been hurt by Google, and try and get some sympathy to get funding to have travel time to go to all these places. I've already paid for the documentary in full. I've paid for it out of pocket.
I know lots of these situations. Like I said, I'm tired of the emails of I'm losing my fucking life because of. I've got documented negative SEO attacks on very large sites with people that have been hurt. That, fortunately, because we had channels to Google, we were able to talk to them. Otherwise, this guy probably would have got screwed. And he's quite open, actually, to any kind of, like, when I said, can I write about this? Can I talk about it? Instead of the usual NDA stuff where everyone's like, no! This guy's like, yes! This is bullshit. And he's quite open to talking about it, actually. So I could even share some stuff with you that I'm allowed to talk about.
That'd be lovely. I'd love to talk to any or all these people. The only question is how much funding I have to go and actually talk with them. Right now, I'll be filming in San Jose for XMS West. And I'll be filming in New York in April or May. That's the little money I have right now to do. So no, Dr. Sheldon, you're absolutely right. I entirely agree. I will make the document. Largely, when you're making a documentary, you make it out of the content that you get. If all I get are complaining black hats, then that's all I have, right? I'm trying to get white hats. I'm trying to get the biggest Google supporters to come and talk on the documentary, and they all, no, I don't want to be on it. No. I'll slag you off online gladly, but when it comes time to being on a documentary and putting my foot down, no, I don't want to be on it. Blah, blah, blah.
Well,
so,
yeah, Josh, but I would point out the fact that in your teaser you invited people to contact you and contribute, but you were only inviting people that had sob stories, not plus stories. Okay, so
True.
that's not
disclosure.
that kind of slants the sort of response you can expect to get because you only invited people.
Doc, hold on. Let me take the other side. I think a lot of times the people with the sob stories also have positive stories because Google helped them build their business. It was through Google that enabled them to grow their business to become what they were. So they actually have the positive side. Then they have the negative side of when it all went to shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But human nature being what it is,
Kristen
David,
left before you got here, Amber. Wow.
human nature being what it is, David, the fact that they let me turn my $10,000 a year business into a $100,000 a year business, and then they took 80% of it away for 2 months, what's going to stick in my mind? What's going to be the flavor, the taste left in my mouth? It's going to be negative, obviously.
Oh, sure, because you didn't. The stupid business didn't think to use some of that profits to invest in the offline brand building.
Well, I'm just saying.
Steve, the old we depend on Google too much.
Yeah, if you put all your eggs in one
basket. At some point, Steve, have to just if you can't rely on any one channel, can you? there, folks? Any of us? No.
I have always, I mean, since day one, I've had this long-standing loose rule with my clients, and they've all understood and agreed to it, that when natural search traffic got above a certain threshold, we would stop doing natural search work and continue to look for other sources outside of search to keep that search traffic, so that if they lost their search traffic tomorrow, they would still have 70% of their business left. And that is a really hard thing to get a lot of clients to understand, and that's why I'm really picky with who I work with. And I just sent an email this morning to a client who's been working with another guy for 4 years, spending upwards of $60,000 a year. And my one email told him more about his business than he's learned in the last 4 years from the other guy. It's just, it's amazing how people get so focused on Google is everything, and part of that's to blame for all the news stories of, look at this guy, he made millions of dollars on Google. It's like, well, that's great, but what else could he be doing? When you have all your business in one customer or one client or one revenue source or one channel, you're gonna get screwed. There's just no way around it. And part of our job has to be explaining to people that there are other things out there besides Google.
Yeah, so just
there's more than one way to get ranked in Google. It's not just about links. How about that?
Yeah, just to speak Doc Sheldon's point. So yeah, I agree entirely. I do want to have the most. I think this industry in general needs a wide, much more reasonable debate. I would like to present a much more reasonable view. Really, what's limiting right now is the funding to do so. Right now, we just want to try and make sure, full disclosure, everyone knows my point of view from reading the Moral Concept, the article I had with Matt Cutts. So, I mean, I'm not going to change my view overnight. Obviously, I'm going to have my final say. I'm the one paying or making the documentary. But I do, honest to God, want it to be as balanced as possible. And I want Google to come on this thing and defend themselves. I've invited John Mueller personally. I want Google to come on this thing. I strongly doubt they will. But, I
not
want
gonna happen, dude.
Google supporter to have their say as well.
No way.
Not gonna happen, dude.
Not likely.
But if they be a clip from outside of Google headquarters saying, we invited them to be a part of this documentary and they declined, looks good.
Dave,
My producer discussed that.
How many times did we say to a client, well, instead of building links, why don't we fix the site? How many times did we get told basically we were idiots?
Well, no, that was just too expensive and unrealistic and whatever.
Yeah, well, in a lot of cases.
Well, let's I was watching some marketing documentary last night. They were talking about that whole Nike thing, where, buddy, when the sweatshops came out and everything else, their stock dropped 12%. That's when they fucking listened and went and made changes. So, people have to lose money sometimes and lose brand equity to be able to listen.
Well, also their SEO is telling them this works and you won't get caught, right?
A lot of people still don't realize what SEO is.
Selling article marketing and they knew that it was risky. How many people were doing that? Before Penguin and before Panda, how many people were selling really risky stuff and not telling the client anything about the risk involved?
A lot of
because before Penguin and Panda, there was no real risk.
I would say most.
There always was. There always was. Right back to the Alta Vista days before there was a Google. There was always risk.
But the risk wasn't we're going to penalize you into the dark ages. The
Yes,
risk
it was. They used to kick you right out of the engine forever and forbid your domain ever being indexed again.
Right.
Google's penalties are lesser than Alta Vista's.
Yeah, that in my opinion, like Amon said, is better than saying your domain and all the other stuff. It's now crap, right? It's never going to rank. That's the alternative.
I know. I think it's better to know that if they've black flagged your site and you will never get it back to where it was, I think it's better to know that up front and just start again, as opposed to the misinformation we're in now, where like, oh yes, you can disavow and eventually it will work and blah 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 blah, which is just kind of crap. gives you hope, and you keep siphoning money into a losing project. And I think that is her.
People are recovering, or Kemper's a liar.
And
Right.
what happens to the
I don't
larger
think
domain name?
don't value that link. You don't like a link, or you don't like this person's content, or pandas, penguins, oh my. Why not just not? Why penalize as opposed to just not doing it? And again, when I talked to my people and friends at Google and had this argument years ago, and I think this came up in the chat room this week, which was that Doc, I think it was you, the negative reinforcement, positive reinforcement studies and shit of that nature. And Google tends to take that viewpoint that the penalization is required to make an effective change. I'm with Steve. I think you should just not value something you don't value and leave it at that. Yeah.
That would be
in a lot
nice.
of cases, even after they're penalized, they don't really learn, Dave. I mean, they just go on to another.
Some people don't, because again, look at Penguin. People we know learned that you could spam the shit out of Penguin for 10 months and then start disavowing it, and away you go. You know what I mean? You reap more benefits in that 10-month period between Penguins going refreshing than it would be to do it the legitimate way, to do it the right way. So again, it's enabling that activity.
And we all know the problem with a lot of people is they leap into conclusion, oh, I've got this penalty, I've got to go and do a disavow. They haven't got that penalty at all. It's just the links they've got are worth shit in the first place.
Right. I see that so often. As soon as their ranking starts to fluctuate, they start disavowing links because they have no idea what's going on, and they just heard disavow links, disavow links.
Well, look at the industry the last 2 weeks. You know what I mean? All this stuff starts coming out. Barry Schwartz starts talking, oh, there's 5 people on Webmaster World talking about some algorithm. Oh, look, Modcast is down. I'll talk to Dr. Pete. Then Google comes along and said, well, it's not Panda or Penguin, because that's all people did. Nobody, where's Bill Slosky when you need him, Evan? But no one thought about query classification changes. Nobody thought about various other elements that Google's working on all the time. Terry said in the chat room, it's when you got a hammer, everything looks like a fucking nail. So, yeah, and that lack of education, nobody even understood. First thing we started seeing as a group was differences in query classifications and entities and how that was being treated. But everyone just started running around penguins and pandas so high as usual, and it was like,
it worked in the advantage of certain SEOs to claim that it is Panda and Penguin, because then they have a sales point they can sell on. Panda, we know you have to remove your duplicate content. My package for that is blah. Or Penguin, we know you disavow at a Penguin, and my package for that is blah.
I didn't even get that far, Josh. I mean, people were saying this because Modcast showed a little flux. I mean, that thing is so fucking whacked and inaccurate.
To be honest, it showed a shit lots of flux. There were lots of other people noticing that there was a lot of jumping in the results, and I mean huge.
But that doesn't mean it's necessarily a Panda.
Of course, it doesn't mean it's a filter, but it was a rollout of something.
Right.
It's just then everyone leads to the two words that heard.
I think my point, Evan, was that people just want to, and to a degree, I agree with Josh that people are selling services so they have to, or they have a proclivity to it. But again, you know what I mean. You spend a lot of time with Bill, like I do, and your brain starts to be able to think about multiple different things that could be going on.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the problem, is that there's just that ignorance that when something rolls out, everyone just jumps to this or that, as opposed to actually having the knowledge or the education or whatever, be able to start thinking deeper and what else might be going on.
Yeah.
And then when SEOs like us come out and say, hold on, we have to wait, we have to analyze the data, we have to see what's happened, we have to see if Google announces anything, unlikely, but sometimes they do, and that will give us a better idea of what's going on. Whenever we try and urge caution like that, then people jump all over us because we're getting in the way of their sales model, because they want to ramp up that it's Panda and Penguin. And then they start attacking us. Sorry, David?
I said, yeah, you got to consider the source. Who's talking and what's their viewpoint and why might they be saying it. So,
always.
Welcome back, Kristen. Evan came in and said, I don't know. Kristen was telling me to come here. I don't know why I'm here. And you left.
Yeah, my computer said, you're going to have a virus check. And I was like, no, I don't want a virus check right now. And it said, you're going to have one. Yeah. And I was like, what? And then I have control.
Anyways, Evan, what have you been up to, man?
Same old largely. A few new clients, a few old clients gone, so a bit of change around there. And working on a new business model, actually.
Nice. Wow.
Just wanted to expand and do something.
First Deborah, now you. I think I need a new business model.
Yeah, well, it came down to the thing of, you know, I work with some of the big corporates. I work with a lot of people who've got the money, and a lot of the smaller clients. Well, it was nice to be able to do something like, you know, the Ammonite show and say, right, here's a free thing, you can have a couple of hours. But when it's free, people don't listen. So I wanted a way of scaling this right down to some of the small businesses that couldn't afford it. I mean, a while back, just between us here, Fight Club Rules, there's a guy who does a lot of SEO work, does a lot of web hosting work.
Hold on. All right, folks, we're at 10 minutes to the hour. We've been out here for 2 hours, so before we go to Fight Club fucking rules, we're going off here.